So example 3 capital A once again gives us a pair of vertices. They really seem to like doing that, so I've gone ahead and graphed those in blue. They also gave us the length of the conjugate axis. We'll come back to that. So I've already plotted my two vertices here. That is enough information to know my transverse axis goes up and down. Transverse. Spelling is hard. It's also enough to tell us, hey, my parabola opens up and down, not parabola, part of my hyperbola. My hyperbola opens up and down. It is a vertical orientation. So that's great. We also are able to find the center from this piece of information. I can do this by counting. 1, 2, 3, 4 units between those two vertices. I need to cut that in half. Half of 4 is 2. So there's a lot that's given just with those two vertices. It's quite nice. Let's go ahead and write that down. Our center is going to be 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. So we have quite a bit of information already, but note that it's not quite enough. I have H and K. I also have an A value. A here is 2. The distance from a center to a vertex is 2. But unlike the previous example, the first 3A, the one with the lowercase a, we don't know the foci, so we're kind of at a loss without some other given. Fortunately, they gave us one. Let's do green. Fortunately, they gave us one, the conjugate axis. The length of the conjugate axis is 10 units. So there's a bit of thought that has to go into this. That is the entire conjugate axis. So half of it has to go on each side of our center. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the reason that I plotted everything else first is at first glance, if you're just trying to graph that, you don't know if it should go horizontal or vertical. Well, in this case, it has to be horizontal because the conjugate axis and the transverse axis must be perpendicular to one another. And again, that center splits it in half. So there's kind of a lot going on here. Fortunately, we don't have to do too much with that conjugate axis. We just need to know B. B is going to be 5, half the length of that conjugate axis. So there are other things that we could do here. We could draw in that rectangle, add in the asymptotes, etc., but they didn't ask us to. All they asked us to do was write the equation of this hyperbola in standard form. In order to do that, I need 4 pieces of information, and I have all 4 of them. This is another hyperbola that opens vertically, up and down. So I want the y minus k first version. Y minus k quantity squared over a squared minus x minus h quantity squared over b squared, all equal 1. So I have all this information at this point. Just substitute in what you know. My k value is 4, so this will be y minus 4. My a value is 2. Be careful. 2 is not what goes in our denominator, but rather 2 squared. 2 squared is 4. Nice little minus sign there. X minus k. K is going to be, x minus h. H is 3. Quantity squared. All over 25. Again, that 25 coming from half the length of the conjugate axis. That was 5. And then we square it to get a 25. So at this point, they should be feeling a little bit like deja vu. Let's see if we can't spice this up just a little bit. See you soon.